Hi, I'm Stu from Hive Automation and welcome to the Hive. In this video, we'll be taking a look at my new Meross MSL430 Smart Ambient Light. As previously, we'll take a look around the outside of the box. We'll get it out of the box. We'll pair it up with the Native App, and because we've looked at Meross in Home Assistant in a previous video, we'll get it set up in Home Assistant and see how well it works with the Meross LAN custom component from HACS. So while I roll the intro, why don't you take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get notified when I release new videos, which is normally each week. While you are at it, if you like what I do here and you want to support the channel, there's affiliate links to smart home gadgets that you can buy for your very own smart home and support the channel at the same time without it costing any extra, or you can support the channel directly through my Buy Me a Coffee link. Of course, those affiliate links and my Buy Me a Coffee link are all on my website, hivemindautomation.com.au. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. So if you've been watching the channel for a while, you might have seen a bunch of videos about an assortment of Meross gadgets, including the Smart Ambient table lamp. This MSL430, however, is a little bit different from the Smart Wi-Fi table lamp reviewed in a previous video, mostly around the design. And I'll put a card up top in case you haven't seen that video yet. The lamp that we reviewed previously is a little bit newer than this one, and it has a couple of different features, but I personally liked the design of this one a little bit better than this one. So I ended up picking up this MSL430 from Amazon for $69.99. I have noticed, however, that there are some specials on for around $53. So if you are in the market for one of these smart ambient desk lights, you might be able to get it a teeny bit cheaper. Now, in terms of prerequisites for this lamp, they're pretty basic. Realistically, you don't actually need to connect this lamp to anything. They run perfectly fine standalone. However, if you are going to use the connectivity features, you are going to want a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi to connect the lamp to. And according to the prerequisites on the box, you'll need a smartphone running iOS 13 or later, or Android 6 or later. And later, when we also connect this lamp into Home Assistant using the Meross LAN HACS custom component. If you're following along at home, you might want to have that HACS custom component already installed. That said, it's pretty easy to work with, so it shouldn't be too hard. I'll put a link to that video in the corner here for you. We'll start, as always, with a quick look around the outside of the box. And I'll start on the top where we just have the Meross logo, and then move to the front where we have Smart Ambient Light with color changing, MSL430. An image of the light works with Apple Home. Then moving to the right, we have Smart Scene, remote access, voice control, 360-degree touch panel, effect mode, eye caring, flicker-free, safe and durable, works with Alexa, works with Google Home, compatible with SmartThings. And then we move over onto the left side where we just have a serving suggestion. And on the back, we have technical specifications. Input 12 volt DC at 0.5 amps. The light is an RGB CW 2700 to 6500K. The dimensions are 99 millimeters in diameter by 195.6 millimeters in height. The material is a fire retardant polycarbonate. We have the wireless standard of 802.11bgn at 2.4 gigahertz. And as I mentioned before, the system requirements: a smartphone with iOS 13 or later, or Android 6 or later, and an existing 2.4 gigahertz wireless network. The manufacturer details: there's a 1-year warranty and some fine print. With the outside of the box done, let's get the box open. Going in from the top, and I'm using my spudger here just so that I don't end up ripping the cardboard, we see some help instructions on the inside of the top flap with a QR code for help joining to Homekit. And we also see the requirements reiterated here: iOS 13 or later, set up with the Meross app, and a 2.4 gig Wi-Fi only, and to use it in a dry location. Folding those flaps out of the way, and we grab the pull tab on this inner box to lift it out. We'll open it up to find the power adapter. And here we see the first point of difference over the previous lamp that we looked at, because this one uses a barrel jack for power, whereas the last Meross Smart Ambient light that we looked at had a USB Type-C input. Back to the box, and we've got two little booklets in here, 7 things you need to know about Homekit and the user manual for the light. If we lift this foam out of the box, we've then got the lamp itself hiding under there and some more foam at the bottom, nothing under that foam. So I'll put all of the packaging aside and we'll take the lamp out of the plastic bag here, and looking around, it's pretty minimalistic, with the only real interruption on the outside shell being the Homekit pairing code, the power jack, and a little port to see where the LED is. I will say I kind of wish that they had put the Homekit pairing code on the bottom. Speaking of the bottom, we'll take a look, and just some details that we already saw on the outside of the box. The technical specification. Back to the top of the lamp, and we see that there's a clear vinyl sticker covering the 360-degree touch panel with some instructions on how to use it. When the light is off, we can turn the light on by a short single press. Also, we can long press for 5 seconds to reset the device. When the light is on, to change the color, we can just short press once. To change the brightness, we can long press, or to turn the light off, we can short press twice quickly. So hardware-wise in the box, it's really just the power adapter and the lamp. So I'll plug it in and we get this fairly bright, cool white color straight away. And when I double tap, let me try again, we'll double tap and the lamp turns off. When I single tap, the lamp comes on. And when I hold it, the brightness changes in steps. If I tap once, the color changes. And I'll just turn off the room lights so that you can see a bit better how this looks, and just using some single taps and cycling through the pre-programmed colors here. So now to get it set up, and it's just as easy as all of the other Meross devices that we've used in the past. And we'll start by opening the Apple Home app on my iPhone. We'll tap the plus button in the top right-hand corner and then tap Add Accessory. We'll use the phone camera to scan the Homekit pairing QR code on the base of the lamp. Homekit detects that it's a light, and we'll tap Add to Home. It takes a few moments to connect to the same Wi-Fi that our phone is currently on, so it is definitely worth making sure that you're on your preferred Wi-Fi before doing this if you have multiple SSIDs. Now, when I first tried to pair the lamp, it failed. So I turned the lamp off by double tapping, and then I held my finger on the touch panel for 5 seconds to reset the lamp and put it into a pairing mode, even though it seems like it was already in a pairing mode, judging from the red flashing LED just next to the power inlet there. The second time around, everything worked a lot better, and during the setup, the lamp flashed red, green, and blue, and then we were prompted to select the room that we were putting the lamp in. I chose my office, and we then get to set the name, which I changed to desk lamp. We then got prompted to set up some default automations, which I ignored and tapped continue. And then we get added to home and done or view in home. I tapped done, then navigated to my office, scrolled down to find that the name didn't stick, and I'm not entirely sure why. So I quickly drilled into the accessory settings and updated the name to desk lamp again. With that fixed up, I was then able to drill into the desk lamp controls to look at what was available to us. And no surprise here, it's no different to any other smart light that we've looked at previously. We have all the same controls in here, like the brightness slider, the color shortcuts, and the color picker, with the 3 different methods to pick either the color from a color picker, a temperature slider, or any color we like from the swatches there, and add them to our favorites. On the main controls page, tapping the cog in the bottom right hand corner takes us back to the accessory settings page that we saw just a second ago. And again, it's no different to any other HomeKit compatible light that we've looked at in the past. We can change the room, we can add it to our home view, we can include in favorites, we can group with other accessories to turn the accessories on and off at the same time. We have the same 3 automations that we saw before that we can turn on. There's 8 suggested scenes that we could add the lamp to, and I'll add it to my good night scene so that it turns off when that scene gets triggered. In the status option here, we've got include in home summaries, and then we've got the manufacturer details, including a link to the Meross app, the manufacturer name, which is Meross, the serial number, the model, the firmware revision, and a remove accessory button. If we tap open next to the Meross app, it does what it says on the box. It opens the Meross app to where we were when we were last in the app, which confusingly in this case was the other smart ambient light. So I backed out and hit the plus button in the top right hand corner, and it straight away has detected that there is a smart ambient light connected to our network that isn't managed by the app. So we can tap add next to it, and it tells us that the adding process may take a minute, and you can find the newly added device in the home page. When we tap OK, after a few moments, the light turns off and then back on again. And I back out and then drag down to refresh the home page, and the smart ambient light has popped up. Drilling into the controls, we're on the color tab straight away, and we can drag the color wheel around and we get live feedback on the light. Tapping on the white tab, we can grab the white balance wheel and also get live feedback. Now, unlike the previous smart ambient light, I'm not seeing an effects tab in this light, in spite of the fact that the box does say that there is an effect mode. So I'm not sure what is going on there. Tapping on the hamburger menu in the top right hand corner takes us to the settings page where we can change the device name, which I'll update to Stu's desk lamp. There's an LED switch, which when we toggle, it toggles the red LED next to the power inlet at the base of the lamp. There's a link here to the user manual. We see the time zone, the device time and date settings, and in the location menu, it'll show us the longitude and latitude, which we can also auto detect. The Homekit setup code is available in there as well, which I won't go into. And we see the Wi-Fi signal, the model number, firmware version, the hardware version, and the media access control or MAC address. That's helpful if we wanted to assign this a static IP later on. Backing out all the way to the home page, when I tap on the user tab in the bottom right hand corner, we're alerted to the fact that there's a firmware update, and I tapped OK to update the firmware. We get taken to the firmware update page, and I can then tap update all, and the update begins. It took a couple of minutes and it was done. I took another look at the controls and it didn't seem to change anything in the app, and it didn't open up that effects tab, so I'm not too sure exactly what is going on there. I'm assuming hopefully that there was some security updates and it fixed maybe some stability issues. So that's about it for the Meross Native App. Now, with that native app out of the way, let's take a look and see about getting this integrated into Home Assistant here. So I'll head over to my demo instance of Home Assistant here. And because in Home Assistant here, if I scroll to the bottom and go to HACS and then go to integrations, we've already got the Meross LAN custom component installed. So we don't need to do anything there. We can just go over to the settings menu here and then go to devices and services. And we see we've got MSL430, Stu's desk lamp, with the Meross LAN custom component auto detected there. So because that's auto detected, I can just tap configure and we'll choose a location, which is going to be Stu's office. There we are. And I'll tap finish. And that has connected to Home Assistant. Now I just need to scroll through here, find my Meross LAN, and we've got 4 devices in here, and we've got Stu's desk lamp. So if I open that up, and we've got our controls here. So I've got the lamp set up here on my B camera, and we've got the controls here on Home Assistant, so I can turn this off and on, and it's pretty responsive. Sometimes it doesn't quite pick up that it is in a particular state. I'm not sure what was going on there. For a second there, the lamp was on, but the switch was showing off in Home Assistant. I'm not sure what that was about. I'm sure it's fine. If I double tap the top and turn it off, it may take a moment for, yeah, there we go. So it took probably about 10 seconds or so for the controls in Home Assistant to update. And if I turn it back on, It's been a good 20 seconds and it hasn't picked that up. So not too sure what's going on. I'll just turn the switch on manually. We've got this DND configuration item here. And if I turn the lamp around and turn the switch on, the little red LED next to the power inlet has turned on and off. And again, that's pretty responsive. I'm not really too sure what functional use that is, but it's perfectly fine. And in diagnostics, we've got signal strength is 50%, and we've got one entity not shown, which is the sensor protocol. That's normally either MQTT or HTTP, I believe, for the Meross LAN custom component. It's not really important. If I drill into the controls here, and we can scroll down, I will turn the lamp to 100% brightness. There we go. And all the way down to practically off, but it is still just on. You might be able to see there. So that is working fine. We've got our color control. So we've got blue, green, and red. The red is always a little bit kind of pinky on these lamps. I'm not sure what that's about. Always just a little bit more pink than it is red. It's perfectly fine though. And we can go into the center to get a cool white there. We've got our color temperature. We can go from warm to cool white. And I note here as well that surprisingly, I'm getting live feedback even from Home Assistant, which that's something I don't normally get with a lot of lamps. So that's nice to see. If I grab some of our presets here, so we've got a blue, a warm white, a purple. That purple, it's a very different purple on Home Assistant than it is on the lamp itself. So that's a little bit different than I was expecting. And there we go. So that color is all representing pretty well, I would say. Yeah, I feel like the RGB values are maybe a little bit off between Home Assistant and the lamp itself, but it's a lot better than it has been in the past. I feel like it's even better than it was with the MSL430 that we reviewed previously. So that's certainly very interesting. I suspect there might have been some updates to the Meross LAN custom component. We'll just change that back to a white color there. So as you can see, the responsiveness is perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with how quickly it responds. So very, very happy with that. I do note as well though, that we don't have any of the effects available here, but again, that's not really a problem because in the native app, we didn't have effects either. So I'm just going to pop the MSL430 next to the lamp here, and I'm just going to turn the lamp off just so that we can see them both side by side. And just as a side-by-side comparison here, you can see that the 430 is a little bit taller than the 450. So the other thing we see here is that the 450 has this kind of plastic control button on top, whereas the 430 has what appears to be like a brushed aluminium or stainless steel. I feel like that, I like that a lot better. And the other thing I quite like about the MSL430 is it's got this edge of clear polycarbonate all the way around it, and then it's got the frosting on the inside of that, whereas the MSL450 is just completely frosted. And I do also like the slightly more minimal base on the bottom here without the buttons, although I do kind of wish maybe they had a way of hiding those, because even these buttons, they are touch sensitive. So they could have maybe just hidden some LEDs or something behind the plastic here. The next thing to really kind of point out here that was a core difference, and actually something that I thought was a bit of a bummer with the MSL430, is the barrel jack connector versus the USB Type-C connector. USB Type-C, I feel like, is a much more flexible connector, because if we were to get, say, a power bank and a USB Type-C cable, we can just plug this in anywhere and it becomes a more portable lamp. For example, we could actually take this lamp camping with a power bank and a USB Type-C cable. Not that we would necessarily have a Wi-Fi network to control it remotely, but I guess the point is that both of these lamps actually work perfectly fine as just standalone lamps with the controls on top there. So I think that's actually one of the best parts about these devices, is that they work as a normal device even without having to have the smarts enabled. And this is something that I really appreciate about the way Meross are approaching the smart devices that they are releasing. Instead of the device being designed from the ground up to be a smart device, it still works perfectly fine as a standalone device, and the smarts add extra functionality as opposed to the smarts being a requirement for you to actually make use of the device. Adding the connectivity and using the app really only adds additional functionality, such as access to more colors and more granular control over brightness settings, etc. The second thing that the MSL450 has that the MSL430 doesn't seem to have is the built-in effects. It's really not super important to me that it has built-in lighting effects, especially when I can control the light from Home Assistant. The only thing I do kind of wish is that I had a way to trigger a smoother transition between colors when triggering changes from Home Assistant, but I do have a feeling that there might be a custom component I can use to handle that for me, and maybe even add some effects by controlling the light from Home Assistant anyway, which if I find something that's suitable for that, I'll explore in another video. So that's my new Meross MSL430 Smart Ambient Light, and I'm using this on my desk, and I'll also be using this to have a visual indication of when things happen around the house. So for example, if the doorbell rings and I'm working with my headphones on, I'll make the lamp change color. As we saw, it's not as feature rich as the MSL450 that we reviewed previously, but it's still a great unit. As I mentioned, I definitely prefer the design of this over the 450, and the integration of the Meross lamps into Home Assistant is just as easy regardless of the model. I will say that the smaller feature set on the MSL430 compared to the MSL450 does start to become a problem when we consider the price that I paid for each of these lamps. The MSL450 cost less at $59.99 with a better feature set, including the USB Type-C power adapter, versus the MSL430 at $69.99 that I paid. And the lack of the effects lighting is maybe a bit concerning when you start considering that price. All in all though, I'm actually really happy with this MSL430 lamp. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments section down below. That's all we have for this video, and I do hope that it's helped you in your home automation journey. And be sure to drop a comment below with a home automation idea that you'd like to see me cover in a future video. Don't forget to follow Hive Mind Automation on Instagram and Facebook. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button below to give it a like. And if you're not already subscribed, now's a great time to change that. While you're at it, if you hit the bell icon, you'll get a notification when I release new videos each week. Lastly, if you like what I'm doing here and you want to support the channel, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Any contributions you make through Buy Me a Coffee do get put towards making more and hopefully better content for you to enjoy. Don't forget to check out my website, hivemindautomation.com.au. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Stu from Hive Mind Automation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.